shaping up, with Sean Wetzlar, who's been on the ground for us at Worlds this year.
Alright, so obviously going into this tournament, there was a huge patch.
Or he'll go a very different route.
New lock! It's a new lock-in!
We're here in front of the Smart Esports Center in Beijing.
They're still here? Take a look for that flank. We'll see the way to make this one on gaze. John flashes in, finds two. He finds on the back line as well. And Specula is not of this earth!
At this point, should we really even be surprised? We're here in Shanghai in front of the Mercedes-Benz Arena.
But it's Macy's on the ult! They wanted the public execution, they can't get Gumayushi! 2-minute block blocker from Peria! Owner, Baker, Gumayushi, Carrier, and now Doran as well! Are world champions! The teammates that so many have praised over the long years! Come on!
This is my last day. Do I still love esports the way that I did?
I don't know if this is going to work. Is this really the time to start over? What am I going to do now?
This past year, I lost my job. I became a father, and I have no idea what I'm doing anymore.
But I'm not gonna give up on the things I love. I've shot a lot of versions of this intro, but I don't want to mourn the things I lost or freak out about what more is at stake. Today, I'm gonna take what I've gone through and I'm gonna turn it into art.
I'm going to process all of the things that are changing the only way that I've ever known how, by writing about it. Well, by writing a fantasy short story with magic and probably some fireballs. Otherwise, by writing about it. Okay, let me just really quickly set the stage here. I'm a long time, really lifelong writer of genre fiction, but I'm a journalist by trade, and for more than a decade, I've made my living covering competitive video games for The Score Esports. And last year, at the end of November, as part of a mass layoff and downsizing, I lost my long-time job there. There's a lot that I could say about the amazing career that I had, but today, for the purposes of this video, what I really want to do this week is take those experiences and turn them into the kind of genre fiction that I wish I saw more often. Fiction that's not just aware of this space, but like really understands the nuances and the people that live in it. I probably won't get through the whole story in just a week. There's a lot going on in my life right now, but I think we can lay a really strong foundation. So let's get right into it.
First things first, my intention here is to tell some kind of tournament arc story. I think first of all, everybody loves a good tournament arc, whether you're a fan of anime or even, traditional sports movies. Like, this is a storytelling format that's been around forever. It's a favorite of mine as well. Simple. I think short stories, you only have room typically for like an A plot and maybe like a one supporting thread. That said, I think there are some important sort of North Stars as I'm planning this story out. I think it's going to be really important that we preserve what makes esports special. I think you want a sense of effort. Whatever the competition is, it should be simple enough that a reader can sort of grok it very quickly in a relatively short word count. But there should be a sense that only a very small handful of people in the world can truly master whatever this is. I think that's going to be really important. Let's get into some world building. So my first thought was, let's make it elemental magic, right? It's simple. Readers have seen it before. I think there's sort of endless room for creativity or innovation, even though readers have seen it before. So it has a lot going for it, but it does have like a really obvious con that, at least for my money, I can't necessarily overcome. It's just been done, right? I think ultimately we're layering tropes on top of tropes. Where am I pulling from my real life experience? So I'm going to rule out elemental magic. But I think there are elements of this elemental magic idea that could be applied to what I'm actually doing here. I think I'm onto something that I really like here. I've been toying with this idea of magical tandems. So there's some sort of person who's in some sort of an arena and they're like a mage, but their magic doesn't necessarily come from themselves. It's not necessarily innate. And there's a support tandem, or I'm kind of leaning towards a team of support mages that are in the wings somewhere, and they're performing some kind of magic, some kind of ritual. They're performing magic that's like slow and cumbersome in the wings, and it gets funneled into this sort of core conduit mage that's in the arena. And so this person's magic only works if there is a team working together for them. It's really easy to imagine a world where you expand it to like a team of 3, or I'm even thinking about going like really traditionally sports and you've got a team of 5, and these people are coordinating in some way. I think they would all need to be voices in each other's ears in some capacity. I think it's really easy to sort of hand wave that away and say, oh, it's magic. There's a magic comms spell. You've got TeamSpeak thanks to magic. I think it's going to be important to me that the rules of the tournament are you can fight your opponents, but there needs to be some kind of like external objective. It's capture the flag or reach the end of an obstacle course. Basically, this idea that there's a macro element that needs to be fulfilled at the same time as like fighting each other. I think the arena should be pretty big. Again, like I'm leaning into this idea of MOBAs here.
The lights in stealth as well. Duro looking for some kind of hook. They want to access that backline, but the peel is insane. Canyon getting on in, goes into his GA, then bull hook Zeka though. As maybe that's enough. They try to stay into a flame. But Ruler will not be denied these objectives. And he's full health.
He just keeps getting them.
And I also think that there should be a handful of schools of magic. And I think potentially there should be a lot of schools of magic, far more than you could have specialists in on your team. To take that to its logical conclusion, maybe the rules of this tournament change every year or every iteration. And so teams will find out about the rules and then spend some time preparing for the tournament. And they'll naturally spend their time preparing strategies that they think are going to be meta. Certain schools are more effective than others. And maybe, certain innovations in certain schools of magic have made them more powerful over time. Maybe there's balance, right? And I think this creates the opportunity for really creative magical conflict, but also the potential for there to be creative underdogs that think of something that the competitors have overlooked.
There's one more thing we should talk about. At the end of last year in December, I became a father. And that's something that my wife and I have been planning forever. We are so happy, and my daughter is perfect. But parenting a newborn is really, really hard at the best of times. So for me, what has been true, and I know this is true for a lot of other people too, is that having a kid has really made me rethink all of my priorities, right? I am entering a new chapter in my life, and whether I like it or not, this is a new chapter for my career too. So lately, I've just been asking myself the question over and over again, do I still love esports the way that I did when I decided to get into this industry? And on the other hand, I'm not in my early 20s anymore. I am a dad in my 30s with a lot of responsibilities. Is now really the time to be totally starting fresh? But here's the thing, my feelings about esports are complicated, but the next step doesn't have to be. As I'm editing this piece, I'm realizing that I spent a lot of time trying to sort of talk out my feelings about the space. And the thing is, after 10 years in the industry, I'm gonna need time to process. I will figure everything out, but I'm not gonna do it right now. So I decided to just get back to the point, to use all these complicated feelings in my story. If I'm having a hard time dealing with aging and starting over and new chapters, then my character can be feeling those things too. As a friend of mine told me today, men really will write fantasy fiction instead of going to therapy.
Okay, it's day 2. Let's talk a little bit about characters. There is one team that I've been thinking about a lot as I've been thinking about parallels for this story, and that team is the ROX Tigers. I love this team. My coworkers used to make fun of me for talking about this team too much, so much so that they made me a fake autographed photo of the team that was given to me as a sort of gag Secret Santa gift years ago, and I still have it. But this is a team of people who came together as massive underdogs who'd been overlooked by the Korean esports landscape and who were not expected to succeed. And I think I kind of want to tap into some of that energy as I put together a cast for the short story. Okay, let's talk about character A. I'm definitely going to need to name them. I think him at some point. But this, I think, is going to be our protagonist. I'm envisioning him as the point person. So this is the least magical member of the team, but the most physical member of the team. He is somebody who achieved a lot earlier in their career, but he never really met his full potential. He's been written off by all the top teams. And I think in the case of this story, he's getting old, and he's much older than his competitors. And obviously this is the really physical role on the team. So you have to be in great shape. It's generally, I think, a young person's game. But so I think character A is somebody who's this sort of natural born leader. He knows how to calm his teammates down. I think this is someone who's facing a lot of external pressure. He knows this is his last chance. Maybe in another parallel to my life, he's just become a father. And so the stakes are really different now. And in another parallel to what actually happens to the ROX Tigers, I'm thinking that maybe the team loses, but they get really close to winning. And maybe character A never actually gets that championship, but he makes enough money to start up some kind of retirement gig and feed his family. I think this is a really nice place to start. I think, frankly, the tension of knowing it's sort of your last chance to reinvent yourself, of feeling the pressures of a new chapter of your life. These are honestly all themes I really relate to right now. Let's move on to character B. I think I have a pretty clear picture of what I need from this character in terms of the story. I think maybe the character arc needs a bit of work, but maybe not. So this is going to be like a young and up and coming mage who gets their start thanks to character A. I think his main flaw is going to be that he's really young, he's really inexperienced, he's really unconfident. But then I want that inexperience to sort of also be his superpower. So I think what's going to happen here is that he was experimenting with some kind of niche magic early in his career, but character A comes along and mentors him and he says, hey, these are the stable schools of magic that the pros use because they're reliable. I sort of like this idea that magic is really volatile, but when it comes to professional play, when it comes to sports, like teams want to rely on things that they know are going to work. I like this idea that character B is experimenting with some kind of fringe magic that he steered away from because he wants to go pro, but then that ends up being the answer to their problem. My main concern is, other than like inexperienced, talented, and not very confident in himself. I really don't have a lot of characterization yet. So I think the solution in the short term is going to be that I start writing maybe some test scenes, some prose from this character's point of view. Honestly, after 2 writing sessions, I'm actually feeling really excited about this story. I feel like there's something really concrete and real here, which I don't know if I totally expected to feel. So I'm sort of pleasantly surprised. I think I know what the next steps are, and I'm excited. Okay, so it is day 3, I guess, since I last worked on the story. I've made a couple of relatively small decisions. I've given the 2 main characters generic fantasy sounding names. So Varric, and then I named character B Tan. So what I want to do next is just write some sample prose. I've had lots of ideas about the world, about the magic system, about these characters, and it all feels nice to me on paper right now, but I want to just make sure that it all actually feels good to write. Okay, I'm actually really happy with some of what I've got here. I think it was a lot of fun to sort of sit in both these characters' heads. I think there's some nice details and a lot to build on when I get into drafting the actual story, which I guess I'm going to do in the next video. But for now, let's take a look at the result. Varric's body hurt. It wasn't the pleasant ache of muscles after too long spent in the gym, nor was it the unfortunately familiar sense of an injury, of tendons stretched and torn. The man that the world of professional magic called the truth after years of clarity and confidence was simply old. It had been 6 months since last year's event ended in blood. Broken bones and shattered hearts, ragged breaths in his ear, spears of sunlight on his scorched skin, a dark red hand sagging into muddy waters, darkness, 3 months since the lions had dropped him, 26 days since he had used magic to so much as warm his coffee. The world had been quick to move on. The teams had written new contracts, the press had written him off, his friends had bought him cheap glasses of translucent amber drafts, his enemies sent immaculate flowers to his door, graveyard black and midnight blue, funeral wreaths. No one except him was earnest in their mourning. Today, he forced his body through habitual movements while flowers died on his back porch and 3 mugs of cold coffee marred a mahogany side table. He stretched, he swore, and he waited for the phantom sounds of a phone that was never going to ring. So yeah, Varric is in a pretty sad place. I am excited to see how our hero puts it all together. Let's jump into Tan. When I wrote this section, I decided to do it in present tense because I sort of have this idea that I want the action to actually be written in present tense, not past tense. I might do the whole thing in present tense. Really just an exercise. I'm not married to either. We're going to settle on that once I get into the actual drafting of the story. In the rings, you can never hesitate. One finger out of place, one word too fast or too slow, the wrong instinct at the right time, and people lose. People die. You can never get too cocky in the rings. That's the first thing Varric taught him. Kids that get cocky get killed or paralyzed, or frozen in a magic temporal stasis that no one has quite figured out after 17 years of study. Well, the last one has only happened once. His tongue feels suddenly too thick in his mouth. Left hand shakes when he holds it up to conjure. He's not ready. He goes anyway. His hand quivers in the air, then snaps through a complicated dance of movements. Light trailing behind his fingers in a constellation of study and power and will. It's perfect. Through his connection to Varric, he feels him leap into the air, flying above the tree line while 3 perfect mirror images of him dart in opposing directions at incredible speed. Then he lands in the ground in front of the target, ice lance buried in the dirt. Varric is swearing in 2 languages Tan doesn't even speak. "What happened?" Rail says. "I missed," Varric replies. Nobody has anything to say to that. Working in a creative field is never easy. These last 10 years have been a dream, but that's not to say they've been a free ride. I don't think any industry is easy, and whenever something stops being your hobby and it becomes your job, your relationship with it changes. I don't have the same relationship with esports that I did when I was a kid. Now I've gone and seen it for real, and it's at once more mundane and more magical. I don't have the same relationship with the world that I did when I was a kid. I've gone and seen it too. Working in a creative field is never easy, but here's the secret. Over time, it does sort of get easier because art is cumulative. Everything you make, everything you experience, everything you do, it changes you. You carry that and it informs your work. When I got into this business, I was still in my very early 20s. I thought I knew what I was doing, but honestly, I was still a kid. I was insecure and nervous, and I had the mother of all imposter syndromes. If I was going to tell that younger version of myself anything, it would be to relax, to just get out there, and to do it with people that you like. Say yes to the adventure, wander off on unknown paths, and you might find yourself in the last place you ever expected. Places that you'll never forget. This life has been a privilege. I've grown up doing what I love, found the things that work, the things that don't. I've changed it up and been changed in the process. It took me a while to figure it all out. I guess it takes everyone a while, but I'm really glad that I did. And now that I'm back here at home contemplating what's next, I'm trying to remind myself of an important truth. Everything that I've done up until now matters. The places that I've been, the things that I've learned, the people that I've met, it all adds up to so much of the fabric of this amazing life. These days, I've got a lot to lose. Responsibilities, relationships, life. But I've done a lot of living to get here. And as much as it's hard to make myself believe it sometimes, I've earned those things. So as I'm sitting here staring at this uncertain future, I'm not afraid because I might be starting over, but I am not starting fresh. Okay, and I'm just going to record a little end board, I guess. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, like, subscribe, you know the drill. I promise it's not going to be another full year before I post to this channel, but I really don't know exactly what the future holds. So I guess I'll just say, if you've enjoyed the work that I've done in the past, that my colleagues and I did in the past, and you're interested in the work that I'm going to do in the future, consider subscribing, come hang out. We'll figure it out together. All right.